If you want to build a future where your bank account looks like a phone number, it all starts with vision. Not hope, not vague ambition, but a clear and specific picture of where you're going. You see, most people don't fail because they lack the ability. They fail because they lack direction. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't know where you're aiming, that talent becomes scattered, wasted, diluted. A financial vision isn't just writing down how much money you want in the bank. It's about painting a mental picture so sharp that your behavior begins to shift. Your energy starts to align. Your time starts to matter. You no longer spend time loosely because you now understand the cost of distraction. You've seen where you want to be, and now you can no longer tolerate the thought of staying where you are when you're broke and tired and unsure. Your vision is what gives you permission to dream again. Your vision becomes the fuel when you're too tired to keep going. And it doesn't start with numbers. It starts with purpose. Why do you want your bank account to look like a phone number? What will that allow you to do? What kind of person must you become to even deserve that kind of wealth? Because money without purpose is meaningless. But money with purpose, that's power. That's impact. That's legacy. A clear financial vision invites you to think bigger, work smarter, and show up when nobody else is watching. It pulls you through the discipline you've been avoiding. It helps you say no to the shortcuts and yes to the long road. The long road always seems hard until you realize that the short road never leads to the bank. A man without a vision is like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the current of life takes him. One day he's excited, the next day he's discouraged. One day he's saving, the next day he's spending it all on things he doesn't even remember buying. But when you live with vision, you don't just survive the days, you use them. You squeeze the potential out of them. You take the ordinary and turn it into something profitable. A vision gives you eyes to see what others are blind to. They see struggle, you see opportunity. They see problems, you see the seed of prosperity. Because you know where you're going, every obstacle becomes part of the process, not a reason to quit. Clarity is a magnet for progress. People who know what they want always move faster. They don't have to debate every little decision. They don't waste time in confusion. They know what to say yes to and what to ignore. You don't get to a 7-figure bank account by being average with your decisions. You get there by being intentional, by making moves that align with your vision. Every dollar spent is an investment in your dream or a distraction from it. Every hour wasted is a withdrawal from your future success. The more clear your vision becomes, the less tolerance you have for anything that doesn't help you build it. And your vision must be revisited daily. Not once a year when you're writing down your New Year goals. Every morning you wake up, you remind yourself why you're working, what you're working for, and what the reward looks like. That level of clarity gives you hunger. It keeps you from being comfortable in mediocrity. It reminds you that you're not just here to exist. You're here to grow, to rise, to build something real. Your financial vision should make you a little nervous. It should stretch your thinking, challenge your work ethic, force you to become more. Because if your goal is to have a bank account that looks like a phone number, then the version of you that you are right now isn't enough. That vision demands a higher version, a version that doesn't sleep in, a version that invests in skills, a version that studies wealth, builds value, and shows up with intention. You can have all the motivation in the world. But if you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll hit nothing. Vision organizes your thoughts. It focuses your energy. It gives your days purpose and your nights rest. Most people don't sleep well, not because of stress, but because they're unsure of their direction. When you get clear on your financial vision, you begin to wake up earlier, think sharper, work harder, and live deeper. You stop playing games with your future. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You take ownership. You build brick by brick. You think in terms of years, not just days, because now you're not just wishing to be rich. You're becoming a person who builds wealth on purpose. Discipline is not just a habit. It is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's not glamorous, it's not flashy, and it's rarely praised, but discipline is what builds the foundation for every great achievement. You don't get a bank account that looks like a phone number by getting lucky one day. You get there by doing the right thing day after day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. You wake up early not because someone tells you to, but because your goals demand it. You save and invest not because it's exciting, but because the future you want is worth the effort. Most people are not broke because they lack opportunity. They're broke because they lack structure. They lack the consistency to show up daily for their future. Self-discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And what you want most has a cost. That cost is paid in early mornings, late nights, canceled distractions, and a relentless focus on growth. The discipline to work on your craft when no one's clapping. The discipline to study when everyone else is scrolling. The discipline to manage your money when everyone else is spending without thinking. There's no shortcut to a 7-figure mindset. You have to earn it. You have to bleed for it in silence before you shine in public. Wealth doesn't come to the smartest or the most talented. It comes to the most disciplined, the ones who can delay gratification, the ones who can stay focused through boredom, the ones who can stay hungry even when the results are slow. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when it doesn't feel good, because feelings are unpredictable. Motivation comes and goes. But discipline is a system. It's a rhythm. It's a personal standard that says, this is who I am now. You don't negotiate with your goals. You don't ask your feelings for permission. You simply act in alignment with your vision. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce your identity. You tell yourself, I am the kind of person who shows up, and over time, that self-trust compounds into power. The world respects consistency more than talent, because talent fades without structure. Potential becomes regret without discipline. Discipline is about creating order in a world full of noise. The world will always try to pull you in 100 directions, urgent things, distractions, entertainments, comforts. But if you let the world set your agenda, you'll stay broke, tired, and confused. Discipline is how you reclaim control. It's how you say, I don't care what everyone else is doing. This is what I'm doing because this is where I'm going. You don't let your current circumstances dictate your actions. You let your future demand shape your present behavior. That's what people miss. They think discipline is a punishment, but it's not. It's a path to freedom. The more disciplined you become, the more control you have over your life, your money, your future. You don't get rich by accident. You get rich by intention, and intention is expressed through discipline. You budget because you value your money. You invest because you see the future before it arrives. You wake up early because you know the cost of sleeping on your dream. You put in the reps, the hours, the work, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And eventually, those little decisions that seemed insignificant become the foundation of your wealth. Every disciplined action builds upon the last. One brick at a time, one choice at a time. You train your body, you train your mind, you train your habits. And before you know it, you've become a new person. Not a better version of your old self, but someone completely transformed. And discipline isn't something you do once in a while. It's not something you practice only when it's convenient. Discipline is a lifestyle. It's a commitment. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's waking up before the world does, putting in the work while others sleep, and knowing that one day your results will speak so loudly you won't have to. While others chase pleasure, you chase purpose. While others look for comfort, you look for growth. While others wait for the perfect time, you create it. Because you understand that freedom comes on the other side of discipline. The freedom to say no because you have options. The freedom to walk away because you have security. The freedom to live how you want because you paid the price to build it. You don't become wealthy by chance. You become wealthy by living with discipline when others won't. You live like most won't for a few years so you can live like most can't for the rest of your life. You ignore the short-term temptations for the long-term reward. And day by day, you separate yourself. Not because you're better, but because you're more consistent. Because you're more focused. Because you're more committed to what you said you want. That's the secret most people ignore. They think the goal is success. but success is just the outcome. The real goal is to become the kind of person who can't help but win because you've built yourself through the fire of daily, unshakable discipline. Wishing has never built a single fortune. Wishing has never deposited a single dollar into a bank account. Wishing doesn't replace doing, and it doesn't replace knowing. If you want to see your bank account grow into the shape of a phone number, you must stop wishing and start building. And what do you build with? Not just effort, not just time, you build with skills. Because in the world of money, skills are currency. Skills are leverage. Skills are what separate the average from the excellent, the overlooked from the overpaid, the dreamers from the doers. Most people wish they could earn more, but very few people are willing to become more valuable. And that's the equation no one can escape. You don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you bring to that time. And your value comes from the skills you develop. Every high-income earner has one thing in common. They have developed a set of rare and valuable skills that the marketplace rewards. Whether it's communication, sales, leadership, marketing, public speaking, negotiation, or strategy. Skills that solve problems or skills that print money. The marketplace doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care where you came from, how poor you were, or how many times you failed. It only cares about one thing. Can you solve a problem and bring value? If you can, it will open the floodgates. But if all you bring is hope and energy with no skill to back it, the door stays shut. That's the brutal truth. Wishing doesn't build doors. Skills do. When you invest time learning what others avoid, practicing what others ignore, and mastering what others rush through, you separate yourself. You put yourself in a league where the compensation matches the contribution. You can spend years waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right person to notice you, but you'll make more progress in 6 months of skill building than in 6 years of waiting. Because when you grow in skill, you grow in confidence. You walk different. You speak different. You approach problems different. And that difference gets noticed. That difference creates demand. That difference invites wealth. Money follows mastery. The people who earn the most are not the ones who chase money. They are the ones who chase mastery. They study their field. They sharpen their craft. They ask better questions. They go deep where others stay shallow. And the marketplace responds by opening up doors that others can't even see. Every time you complain about money, ask yourself, what skill could I develop that would make me too valuable to ignore? Because that's how you stop being broke. Not by working harder in the same way, but by increasing the value of what you do. That's how you make more money in less time. That's how you create options. That's how you move from desperation to demand. The most powerful people in any room are not the loudest. They are the most skilled. They don't need to prove anything because their results speak louder than their voice ever could. They walk in prepared, not hoping for luck, but carrying the confidence of someone who has paid the price to know what they know. Skills compound over time. The skill you learn today might not pay you tomorrow, but it builds something inside you. It creates momentum. It shifts your thinking. It opens your awareness. You start to see connections you never noticed before. You start to operate at a higher level. And then one day, someone pays you more for 1 hour of your skill than they used to for an entire week of your time. And it's not magic. It's not luck. It's preparation meeting opportunity. You built the skill when no one was watching, so you could shine when it mattered most. Every great performer, every successful entrepreneur, every wealthy investor, they all started with the same blank page, but they filled that page with skills. They practiced in private before they were rewarded in public. If you want to rise, you must train like it. You must read, practice, apply, fail, repeat. Not once, but daily. Not casually, but with urgency. Because the market doesn't pay for average. It pays for excellence. And excellence is a result of obsession. The person who shows up every day to sharpen their skill will always outperform the person who waits for motivation to strike. And there's no such thing as wasted learning. Every book you read, every mentor you listen to, every hour you put into your craft is a deposit into your future wealth. Skills are the only asset that no one can steal. No market can crash and no economy can devalue. You carry them with you. They multiply in value the more you use them. They grow faster the more you teach them. And the person who understands this will never go hungry, never stay broke, never livestuck. So when people ask how to build a fortune, the answer is simple but not easy. Trade your wishes for skills. Trade your excuses for expertise. Trade your distractions for mastery, because your future doesn't respond to what you hope for. It responds to what you've prepared for. And the greatest preparation for wealth is to become the kind of person who can create value on demand under pressure in any season with any tool. That's what skill does. That's how fortunes are built. Your environment shapes your direction more than your intentions ever will. You can have the biggest goals, the strongest work ethic, the clearest vision. But if you spend your time with people who think small, live small, and talk small, it begins to infect you. Not all at once, but slowly. You start to lower your standards to match theirs. You start to justify laziness because everyone around you is doing the same. You start to forget your goals because no one reminds you of them. That's the silent power of your circle. If you want to build a bank account that looks like a phone number, you better start associating with people whose thinking already has 7 digits attached to it, because mindset is contagious. The people you spend the most time with are either pulling you forward or holding you back. You can't grow while staying comfortable, and you can't stay comfortable while being around people who are growing. You need voices in your life that challenge your excuses, not comfort them. You need conversations that make you feel slightly uncomfortable because they force you to look at your habits, your thoughts, your results. If everyone around you is impressed with you, you're in the wrong room. You need to be around people who are steps ahead of you, people who are playing the game at a higher level, not so they can make you feel small, but so they can stretch your vision, expand your thinking, and challenge your limits. You don't rise to your goals. You rise to the standards of your environment. Most people protect their comfort zone like it's a treasure chest, but it's really a prison. They stay around the same people because it's familiar, but familiarity doesn't lead to growth. If you want to grow, you must risk discomfort. You must seek out those who intimidate you a little, those who've built what you're trying to build, those who talk in numbers that feel foreign to you now, but will become familiar over time. Because the more time you spend around winners, the more you begin to see what's possible. You begin to notice that the difference between you and them isn't talent, it's perspective. They think different. They act different. They expect more from life, and as a result, they get more. And if you pay attention, that mindset starts to rub off on you. When you sit with winners, the conversation is different. You don't talk about people, you talk about ideas. You don't complain about the economy, you strategize around it. You don't talk about the past, you talk about what you're building next. And just being in that kind of environment forces you to level up. You don't even need advice every time. Sometimes just being in the presence of someone who's further along than you is enough to awaken something inside you. It sparks hunger. It reminds you what's possible. It destroys excuses. Because when you see someone who came from less than you doing more than you, it destroys your justifications. You stop blaming circumstances and start taking ownership. Your circle should be a mirror and a mirror to reflect who you are right now, and a window to show you who you could become. You need people who call you out, not just cheer you on. People who challenge you when you're slacking. People who refuse to let you settle for average. Because average isn't about how much money you make, it's about how little of your potential you use. And the right people will never let you waste your potential. They won't let you quit on yourself. They'll push you even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because they see what's in you, even when you forget it yourself. And it's not just about who you spend time with physically. Your influences can be books, mentors, podcasts, videos. You may not have access to millionaires in your neighborhood, but you do have access to their mindset if you're willing to seek it. You can read their words, listen to their strategies, absorb their thinking. That exposure changes everything. Because once your mind expands, it can never go back to its original size. Once you've tasted high-level thinking, mediocre talk becomes unbearable. Once you've seen how winners move, complaining starts to feel embarrassing. That's the power of exposure. It pulls you out of your old story and into a new standard. But here's the secret. Association is not just about proximity, it's about intention. Being near greatness won't change you if you don't engage with it. You have to ask questions. You have to listen deeply. You have to apply what you learn. It's not about being a fan. It's about being a student. You don't want to admire success. You want to duplicate it. And duplication requires humility, effort, and commitment. You must be willing to be the least experienced person in the room. You must be willing to admit what you don't know. You must be willing to learn. Because the moment you believe you've outgrown learning, you've outgrown growth. And when you stop growing, you start shrinking. That's why the people you associate with matter more than most things. Because they decide whether you grow or stay the same, whether you stretch into your potential or stay safe in your limitations, whether your bank account reflects your dreams or just your doubts. Earning money is the starting point, but multiplying it is where real wealth is born. Most people focus their entire lives on how to earn, but very few spend time learning how to multiply. That's the gap between working for money and letting money work for you. You can have a high income and still be broke if you haven't learned the skill of multiplication. Earning gives you the tool. Multiplying teaches you how to build something with that tool. You see, income without intelligence leads to consumption, but income with strategy leads to freedom. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, how much you grow, and how much continues to produce. Even when you're not working, people work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, for 30 years, and still end up with nothing to show for it. Not because they weren't disciplined, not because they weren't working hard, but because they only knew how to earn. They never stopped to learn what to do with the money once it showed up. They didn't learn about compounding. They didn't learn about investing. They didn't understand that every dollar is an employee. And if you treat that employee right, it will bring more dollars back. When you learn how to multiply, you stop spending like a consumer and start thinking like a producer. You look at money differently. You ask, how can this money grow? How can it create cash flow? How can it build something that lasts? Multiplying your money requires a mindset shift. Most people are trained to earn and spend. Earn, spend. Earn again, spend again. It's a cycle that never ends. But wealth thinkers operate differently. They earn, save, invest, repeat. They delay gratification because they understand the power of time and growth. They don't chase status with money. They chase freedom. And freedom only comes when you stop trading time for income and start trading strategy for multiplication. You look for assets that appreciate. You learn about real estate. You study markets. You understand business models. You analyze risk. You look for ways to make your money active, not idle. Because idle money is lost opportunity. Multiplication isn't fast. It's not loud. It's not something you brag about. It's quiet. It's patient. It's methodical. It's planting seeds when everyone else is showing off fruit they didn't grow. You build slowly. You invest smart. You watch the compounding do its work. Over time, that discipline becomes leverage. While others panic during setbacks, you stay grounded because you've built a system that works with or without you. You've created value streams that don't require your constant energy. That's how wealth multiplies. Not by chasing, but by building. Not by reacting, but by planning. You understand that every dollar you don't waste today becomes a soldier that fights for your future tomorrow. And you don't have to start big to multiply. You start small and grow. $100 well invested is better than $1,000 foolishly spent. You study the game. You learn the difference between assets and liabilities. You choose to educate yourself while others choose entertainment. And over time, your understanding compounds just like your money does. You stop looking for quick flips and start looking for solid foundations. Multiplication is a long game played by those who think in decades, not weekends. You learn to respect the process. You learn to appreciate consistency. And one day you look back and realize your money has been growing while you were sleeping, while you were traveling, while you were resting. That's the reward for learning the game of multiplication. There are people earning six figures and still struggling. And there are people earning half that who are building wealth quietly because they've mastered the art of money movement. Earning is noise. Multiplying is strategy. It's systems. It's smart decisions made again and again. It's buying time, not just things. It's buying peace, not just possessions. You realize that money is a tool and tools are meant to build, not impress, not decorate, build. The stronger your foundation, the higher you can go. But if you only earn and never multiply, you're just running faster on the same treadmill. You'll get tired. You'll get frustrated. You'll wonder why it's not working. But it's not your effort that's the problem. It's your system. So you begin to think like an owner, not just a worker. You look for leverage. You look for return. You understand that money sit in a drawer is potential going to waste. Every financial decision becomes strategic. You ask, is this building my future or burning it? Is this a seed or is this a leak? You learn to track. You learn to measure. You learn to optimize. Not because you're obsessed with money, but because you're obsessed with freedom. You're obsessed with building something that lasts longer than your energy. Because one day you won't want to work. One day you may not be able to work. And on that day, your multiplication skills will carry you. Not your job title, not your resume, your ability to make money move without your sweat. And the beauty of it is this: once you learn how to multiply money, you can never unlearn it. It becomes second nature. You start seeing opportunity where others see risk. You start valuing time more than things. You build systems. You build assets. You build confidence. Not just because of what you earn, but because of what you've learned. That's the quiet power of multiplication. It doesn't make noise. It makes results. Success cannot be something you hope happens someday when things go right or when the stars align. It has to be something you take full responsibility for, something you treat like a duty, not a distant dream. When success becomes a duty, your actions change, your thinking shifts, and your level of commitment rises beyond the average. You stop asking for permission. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop entertaining excuses, because duty has a different weight than desire. Desire fades when it gets hard. Duty shows up even when it hurts. Desire backs down when challenges come. Duty leans in and does what needs to be done. The moment you decide that financial freedom, success, and legacy are your responsibility, you begin to move with a new level of intensity that separates you from the crowd. Too many people treat success like a lottery ticket. They keep wishing, waiting, and wondering. They talk more than they act. They plan more than they execute. They hope things will get better, but never take full control of the direction of their life. When you treat success like an option, you allow other people to write your story. You let the economy, your boss, your background, your environment make the decisions for you. But when you treat success as your personal duty, you pick up the pen. You become the author. You start living on offense instead of reacting to everything that happens around you. You start making moves with purpose. You stop trying to survive and start choosing to thrive. There comes a point where you must stop negotiating with your goals. You don't ask if you feel like it. You don't ask if you're ready. You simply do it because it must be done. That's the mindset that builds wealth. That's the mindset that fills your bank account with numbers people thought were impossible. When you decide success is your duty, you give yourself no other option. You remove the back door. You eliminate the escape route. You burn the bridges to mediocrity. You give your dream no choice but to happen because you've committed at a level most people aren't willing to reach. And the truth is, commitment like that is rare. Most people want the result, but few are willing to carry the responsibility that comes with it. When you shift into that space where you feel responsible for your outcome, you stop blaming anything outside yourself. You stop saying, I can't because of them, or it's not the right time. You realize no one is coming to save you. No one owes you success. No one is obligated to open doors for you. It's on you, every bit of it. And that ownership is where the power lies. Because when it's your fault, it's also your fix. When it's your responsibility, it's your opportunity. You no longer wait, you create. You no longer depend, you develop. You no longer hope, You build success becomes non-negotiable when you decide it's your responsibility to provide more for your family, to break the cycle, to change your legacy, to show others what's possible. When your success is tied to something bigger than you, when it's about your children, your name, your purpose, you can't take days off from it. You wake up with fire, you move with urgency. You stop playing small games. You stop comparing yourself to people who have no intention of growing. You step into your own potential fully because the cost of staying average is now too high. And the beautiful thing about making success your duty is that it makes you resourceful. You stop looking for perfect conditions and start finding solutions with whatever you have. You become someone who doesn't just talk about ideas. You bring them to life. People who make success their duty become the ones who don't need constant motivation. They don't wait for inspiration. They create momentum through discipline. They take action before they feel ready. They fail fast and learn faster. They refuse to live a life of regret. They're not the ones watching others live dreams. They're the ones others are watching. They become leaders, not because they asked to be, but because they've earned it through consistency, resilience, and execution. And they don't chase applause, they chase progress. They don't compete with others, they compete with their own standard. Because when success is your duty, you understand that your only real competition is the version of you that refuses to grow the moment success becomes something you owe to yourself. Your excuses lose their power. You stop letting distractions steal your focus. You stop letting fear delay your progress. You stop waiting for the right feeling and start taking the right steps. And those steps add up. The early mornings, the long nights, the discipline, the sacrifice, all of it compounds. And slowly the life you dreamed of starts to become the life you live. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you decided it had to happen. You made it your job, your responsibility, your non-negotiable standard. Success no longer felt like a fantasy. It felt like a requirement. And when something becomes a requirement, you find a way no matter what stands in your way. You don't need everything to be perfect. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't need the path to be easy. You just need to decide that the outcome is your duty. And when you do, you begin to lead your life instead of follow it. You create wealth instead of chasing it. You grow into the person who can build, sustain, and multiply success because it's no longer something you want. It's something you owe to the person you were born to become. You don't wake up one day with a 7-figure bank account by accident. It's built piece by piece, thought by thought, action by action. It begins with a crystal clear vision so strong that it pulls you forward even on the hardest days. It demands discipline, the kind that shows up when motivation runs out and the world offers you distractions instead of direction. It grows through the development of real, tangible skills that solve real problems in the marketplace. Skills that replace hope with ability and potential with results. And as you grow, so must your environment. You cannot rise while surrounded by mediocrity. You must place yourself among those who stretch you, who challenge your comfort, who raise your standard. Then you must shift your focus from simply earning money to multiplying it, understanding that true wealth is not what you bring in, but what you build, protect, and grow. And finally, you must make success a duty, not a hobby, not a someday, a duty, something you own fully, take personally, and refuse to compromise on. Because when success is your duty, no excuse is strong enough to stop you. No failure is final. No delay is permanent. You're not just chasing money, you're becoming the person who creates it, sustains it, and uses it to create impact that lasts far beyond the paycheck